What's up? Welcome into another video here on the FanTC Podcast Network YouTube page. I'm going to go ahead and take you through another mock draft, number 7 on our 45 days of mock drafts. So with this one, I've been kind of just using a generator to kind of go and choose between 1 through 12 or 1 through 10, depending on how many teams I have. But I have a little bit of an interesting strategy I want to take with this mock draft and see what my team looks like if I build it out this way. I'm going from the 101, and from the 101, I think there's a couple acceptable players. Now, this is a half PPR setting. I think in just half PPR, my number one go-to is still going to be Christian McCaffrey. I think that he has still just an insane upside at the running back position. And I think when you have the ability to get such an outlier running back, you have to go ahead and take that. I know Jefferson and Chase and Kupp are fantastic. And if you choose to take a wide receiver or you're in a 3 wide receiver setting where maybe the wide receivers are weighted a little bit heavier, totally understand. This is going to be a pretty standard roster. We'll go ahead and take a look at it right here real quick. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flex, 5 bench. So like I said, pretty standard there. So let's go ahead and jump on into this. We have the first overall pick. Again, I'm looking to go running back, and take T. Higgins with my first pick in the 3rd round. So we got to go ahead and grab our first running back, Christian McCaffrey. Bunch of guys as you'd expect to go. Travis Kelce, there we go. Bijan, Diggs, Taylor, Barkley, Brown. Mahomes on the 1-2 turn. See, that's where the AI makes no sense. If you're taking Brown, just take Hurts. Lamb, Chubb, Jacobs, Henry, Brees Hall. All right, so right now we're at the turn. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a running back and actually have some really good news about Tony Pollard. We got word that it's very unlikely that Zeke is to re-sign with the Cowboys. And I think that was kind of worst case scenario for Pollard because Zeke would somewhat be on scholarship with some of those red zone opportunities. But I think Tony Pollard is going to absolutely dominate in that role. And then, oh my gosh, we don't even get to build the team we wanted to. You've got to be kidding me, man. T. Higgins goes a pick before me. All right. Well, I don't really have statistics to back any of these people up, but I was about to go crazy with the T. Higgins build. Let's go ahead and just take. I'm going to go Devontae Smith. And we got the quarterbacks fall into the 3rd round with Allen and Hurts. A lot of times they are swooped up there in the 2nd with Pat Mahomes. So pretty interesting to see, those 12 straight picks with no quarterbacks that early. That does not happen very often against the good old computer here. All right, back to us here. So Devontae Smith instead of T. Higgins, I mean, really, there's a good chance that you're going to get either one. There's a chance that maybe instead of Pollard, we end up with Ramondre if Team 2 takes Pollard instead of Higgins. But we're kind of getting the same sense. Can one of these elite wide receiver 2s on a team be good enough to carry your wide receiver? Do you feel comfortable enough with him as your wide receiving room leader? And that's really what I'm trying to get out of this draft. And for me, on these next 2 picks, when I have Pollard and Christian McCaffrey, my running back room is set. Like I feel comfortable waiting another 22 picks before I make another running back selection. I think if I could now build on my wide receiver room, grab maybe a Keenan Allen with a Terry McLaurin. Maybe if you're someone who likes Drake London this year, you go him in this situation. I absolutely love that. At tight end, we're already 4 tight ends deep on the 4-5 turn. There's not a tight end that I'm interested in. Kyle Pitts is somewhat interesting this year. I get if you're kind of into him and his resurgence, but this is just still too early for me to trust him. Running back, I just feel super confident in. Miles Sanders is there, which does make me think because Miles Sanders is good as it gets. His situation is as good as it gets with Frank Reich in Carolina. Damn. All right, we're taking Miles Sanders. If you haven't watched any of the other mock drafts, he's basically our guy. If he's available, he gets taken. And I love Keenan Allen falling to me in that position. If you like Terry McLaurin over Keenan Allen, I kind of understand that. I just don't know if I can really trust Sam Howell. Obviously, the one game they played together, I think Terry had like 3 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown, which for fantasy, it works. And you're not going to be too upset with that. But I still think Keenan Allen just has a lot more upside with his situation if, him and Herbert stay healthy all year. All righty. So now that last time we went ahead and snagged a running back, kind of glad we did. Because at this situation, I'm probably just taking Kamara or Williams, depending on whoever's situation I hear, sounds a little bit better. But I feel like I could take two wide receivers here and kind of continue building that wide receiver core. And man, I would have taken Treylon Burks in a heartbeat if this was a few days ago. Marquise Brown's sticking out to me. And here's why. Now the Arizona situation, is it terrible? Absolutely. But no D Hop. And when D Hop was not there last year, Marquise Brown was an absolute target machine. I think he can continue to be that. I think Baltimore, a little bit deep down, regrets trading Hollywood Brown like they did last year. So I think Hollywood's a good addition to this wide receiving core. Let's check tight ends. Nope, not a good spot for those tight ends. Not worth it for any of those quarterbacks. So let's build with another wide receiver here. So I'm seeing a couple different options. Michael Pittman's probably going to be the one that most people are going to point out and be like, why didn't you go Michael Pittman in this situation? Unfortunately, I just do not trust Anthony Richardson. If I had a little bit more faith that he could, you know, just be a mediocre, not mediocre, but above, about an average passing quarterback, I'd be fine with Michael Pittman. But there's just a chance that Anthony Richardson is throwing the football all over the field. And whenever you are drafting, you're really drafting for the first 4 to 6 weeks of fantasy. By the time you're 6 weeks in, you should have made probably a trade or two, maybe three if you're a big trader, maybe some more. You should have looked at the waiver wire, dropped and added some people. So you may have a core that stays the same, but you're always kind of going to be going in and out of these pieces. I just don't think Michael Pittman's value is going to rise enough for me to take him. Now, with that being said, if there is one player whose value could skyrocket and maybe you could flip Michael Pittman later for someone with much more value, is if Anthony Richardson does turn out to be really good and really good really fast and he's able to do something with it. Mike Evans obviously has like 1,000 yards every year of his career. I'm sure he's been a wide receiver blank or better every year of his career. I like Mike Evans. I think he kind of adds a little bit of boom bustness to this wide receiving room. Deontay and George Pickens. I think I'm leaning Pickens. Now, granted, Deontay Johnson's outlier non-touchdown season is probably not going to stay the same. You got Jahan, Kadarius. All right. There's no running backs I really care to take. What quarterbacks are going to be gone by my next pick? Okay. I just really don't love it, man. I'm just not that high on Michael Pittman this year. I just don't think he's going to do it. But you know who just always. Oh, I just feel like I should get him around later. I feel like this is early. See, I like a lot of these boom bust wide receivers down here. All right, you know what? I talked myself into it. We're going to go Michael Pittman. Because honestly, right here with where we're drafting him, he's going to be in consideration for a flex position. With Marquise Brown, depending on who the Cardinals starter is, probably with a couple of these other guys I'm going to take with my next two picks. So, and he's kind of a stock that you're purchasing here in the 7th round because, like I said, if Anthony Richardson does turn out to be solid, and you could later on flip a Michael Pittman for I don't want to go too high, but a Chris Olave, maybe a Calvin Ridley if he breaks out. Like, there's a chance Michael Pittman still has a little bit of name value as well. So if he kind of gets it going again, he's going to be an easy guy to flip. And that's kind of what sold me on it a little bit. I can tell you right now, because he's definitely not getting back to us, one of the players we're going to take is David Njoku. So we're going to get that pick out of the way. He would be my tight end of choice if you want to wait a little bit on tight end, get someone in the 9th or 10th round. Maybe your league just doesn't draft tight ends almost at all. You might be able to get him a little bit later, but in this one, you're going to get him here around the 9-10 turn. Very happy with that. And then let's see the running back room here. Not in love with any guys. Quarterbacks. It's basically Anthony Richardson or, because here's my thing. I could get Kirk Cousins right now, or I could probably wait and get Geno Smith or Jared Goff or Russell Wilson or someone like that on my next turn. So I'm not going to waste the pick on Kirk Cousins. At the running back position, who are some guys that I would target next time around? Damian Harris, I don't mind picking up. Devon Achane, I don't mind picking up. A little bit more upside potential with a solid 3 running backs is probably the right play. So I think I'm okay waiting on running back. We'll see, though. We'll see what our wide receiver situation looks like. So we have Devontae Smith, Keenan Allen, Marquise Brown, Michael Pittman. And when I'm looking at this, Quentin Johnson is up there in my options. So is Zay Flowers. My thing with Quentin Johnson is I don't think I want to pair him with Keenan Allen. That's giving me too much Chargers. So I'm going to go with the guy that I like out of Baltimore if you're drafting. They're all really kind of later in drafts anyway, so you're not really like calling your shot on any of them, like drafting them super early. But I'm going to take Zay Flowers and see what my team looks like if I keep building this way. I like Zay Flowers a lot. I think there's a lot of opportunity in Baltimore, obviously, and he was really good for Florida State, so I could just see him coming into the league. He's just a physical wide receiver, definitely not to the level of like a Deebo Samuel or anything, but he runs hard, he breaks tackles, he does all the things that you want a quarter or a wide receiver to do. And I just think, he's the guy that Lamar can just get the ball, get the ball in his hands, and he's going to make something happen. So I like taking him here. Let's see. We're down to our final 4 picks. I think we're going to go ahead and just secure our quarterback of choice at this point out of the 3 really main ones that are left that we're looking at. We're going to take Russell Wilson. I just think that with the Sean Payton offense, we saw what Drew Brees was for years, even as he got older. I'm not saying Russell Wilson is quite that level of a passer because I don't really think he's really that close at all. But I just think that I want to have a guy that has really high upside. Whereas Aaron Rodgers, you could say he does. I don't really know if Aaron Rodgers has that much upside. And then Jared Goff is like Mr. Non-upside. So I just cannot take him. Damian Harris is interesting. Jerick McKinnon kind of provides a little bit more of a poppy upside. Kendre Miller, young running back, he probably provides the most upside depending on what happens with Kamara, at least to start the season. We'll go Kendre Miller, but I don't love it. I know he's a lot of fantasy guys, like one of their favorite rookie running backs. Obviously, not the favorite, but in just the way that I see it for Kendre Miller is they now also have Jamal Williams there, which I think some people are ignoring, who was a hammer for the Lions last year. And if they're getting inside the 5-yard line, like it's going to him. Like why in the world would they ruin that recipe that worked so well last year? And that makes me just a little bit worried for Kendre Miller. All right. I've said what I've said about Rashee Rice. I usually like taking a shot on a Chiefs wide receiver. My last 2 picks, Sky Moore went right before me, so I'm not going to take Rashee Rice. He's a guy that's he's gonna be on the waiver probably within the first couple of weeks anyway. So I'm just not that eager just to throw him on my roster. But a guy that I am that's getting a little bit of hype, which I think kind of goes with the flow of this team, kind of gives me a little bit maybe of a PPR kind of guy. I'm going to go with Romeo Doubs. He's been getting a lot of love in camp. Again, good news is always good news. At least we're not hearing that he looks slow or anything like that. Obviously, this is the time of year where good news comes out. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm probably going to draft a decent amount of Romeo Doubs if I don't start hearing a lot else about the other Packers wide receivers, especially their rookies. I think I heard on another podcast that their rookies are getting no love, and it's just kind of odd. With my last pick, I'm just going to go ahead and pick a guy that could potentially be a starter in the 13th round if things fall my way, and that's going to be Jeff Wilson of Miami. Don't really love it, don't really hate it. It's the last pick of the draft. If he's not involved at all in week 1, I could feel okay cutting him. If he gets a little bit of work, I always know he has a decent upside. He's proven that through his years in the NFL. So Taking a look at it, we're building our team with Russell Wilson as our starting quarterback. We got the nasty running back combo of Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders. If you leave your running back with those, if you leave your draft with those three running backs, I think you're going to be very happy with your fantasy football season. We also added Kendre Miller and Jeff Wilson to that running back core. Devontae Smith, Keenan Allen, Marquise Brown, Michael Pittman, Zay Flowers, Romeo Dobbs. Loving that wide receiver room. Again, I kind of went in this with the intention of drafting T. Higgins there at the 3.1. He obviously went in the 2.11. It is what it is. Sometimes things don't go your way. That's all right. I'm going to do a little bit of, some stuff with Devontae Smith as well, kind of see how he pans out as a wide receiver one on a fantasy team. I think if this was my team, I'd be pretty happy with it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Appreciate it. Peace out.